Hello! Today we're talking about notes simple interest. We're going to be breaking this topic up into day 1 and day 2. Just to start here, we're going to show you that we are going to be using a formula, and you will not be given this formula on a test, so you do need to make sure that you have it memorized. The formula, the formula is going to be I equals PRT, where they're stating that the simple interest I is the amount of interest that is either owed or earned. Principal P is the original amount of money that is deposited or borrowed. I'm probably going to spell borrowed wrong, but we'll go for it. Rate is your R. So be careful. P is for principal, not percent. Rate R is for the percent of the interest earned. And it needs to be entered as a fraction. Time is in T for the number of years the money is deposited. So just to talk a little bit about two types of interest. If you deposit money into a bank account, the bank pays you interest for the right to use your money for a period of time. So if you have like a savings account with, let's say, Glens Falls National Bank, if you have a savings account and you put money in there, the bank now really takes your money and invests it. And when they invest it, they'll be able to get more money on top of the additional money. So they're going to pay you for the right to use your money to make more money. So if you put money, the longer the money stays in the bank account, the more interest you will earn. On the converse, if you borrow money from a bank, such as a car loan or a mortgage or just a simple personal loan, if you borrow that money, you will pay the bank interest for the use of their money. So since you go to the bank and say, can you loan me, $5,000, they'll say yes, but we'll charge you interest. We will charge you a set percentage every month when you pay us back. You also pay interest to a credit card company if you have an unpaid balance. So if you do not pay your credit cards off in full every month, you will be charged an APR, an interest rate. We're going to jump right into talking about the formula. Number 1 says that suppose you deposit $400 into a savings account and keep it in the bank for 6 years. The interest rate is 5%. Identify each value in the simple interest formula. So over here, they're giving us the possible things that we could be filling in our formula with. They're telling us that interest, again, is the principal times the rate times time. So interest is the letter I, principal is the letter P, rate is the letter R, and time is the letter T. The reason why they're having us practice that again is that they don't want you to put in P for percent. In the question, if you deposit $400 into the savings account, that is the money that is deposited, that is your principal. The rate is 5%, and over here, I want you to see that they put it as a decimal. So their decimal comes from, if I say 5%, 5 divided by 100 is 5 hundredths. So as a decimal, that would look like 5 hundredths. The T time is 6 years, so I will put 6 in here. And then what they're asking for then is how much interest would you actually get? Well, at this point, all we need to do is multiply 400 times 5 hundredths times 6. And that will give us a final answer of 120. So that means that if you deposit your $400 into the savings account, you don't touch it for 6 years. At the end of those 6 years, you will have earned an additional $120 to actually have $520 total in your account. Example number 2 says, suppose you deposit $500 in a bank account that earns simple interest at 1 2/10%. You keep it in the bank for 2 years, so which of the following is or are true? Well, the amount that you deposit will be your principal, so I'm labeling that with a P. The interest rate is my R. We keep it in the bank for 2 years, so that is my time. So which of the following is true? Well, I know I have not calculated what the amount of interest is yet. The principal, 1 2/10%, that's not true because the principal is not a percent. The P is 500. Well, yes, we just decided that is true. And the time is 2, so we decided that is true. So what we have to do is actually use the formula I equals PRT. I like to write my T with a little curly Q there so I don't confuse it with an addition sign. I am looking for the amount of interest. My principal is 500. My rate is 1 2/10%. So I'm going to put 1 2/10 divided by 100 and then times 2. Now when I enter this into my calculator, I'm going to start by putting the 1 2/10 first divided by 100. So hold on one second. So I'm going to enter it as 1. Let's try that again. Put my pen down. I'm going to enter as 1 2/10 divided by 100. Where's my divided by 100 first. And it gives me a decimal of 12 thousandths. Then I just multiply that times the 500 times the 2 to get my answer of 12. So I know my interest is 12, so A is also going to be true. I think you guys can go on and flip the paper over and try number 3. Pause the video. When you come back, it'll be ready. Okay. The step that I have highlighted, you probably don't have on your paper, but I was just showing you that 300ths, again, when I do change that to a decimal, is 300ths as a decimal. You need to make sure that that's what you're multiplying by here. You don't want to accidentally leave it as just 3. So you should get $87. So now, we're moving on to where it talks about that in some situations, interest is accumulated on a monthly basis instead of yearly. We have to recall that in I equals PRT, T is in years, okay? To find out how much interest you have after 3 months, you need to convert months to years. Since there are 12 months in a year, they are saying 3 months time, 3 divided by 12, which reduces to 1/4. So for your time in this scenario, you would actually substitute in 1/4. So for question number 4, it says after 8 months, who will earn more interest and how much more? 8 months, that means I have to talk about my time being 8/12, which I can reduce 8/12 if I wanted to. 8/12 would reduce down to, oh, not 4, let's try 2/3. So we set up I equals PRT. The principal is 2,950. My rate is 400ths. The time is 2/3. So again, I have 2,950. 400ths is the same thing as 400ths. And since 2/3 is a repeating decimal, I'm just going to leave that as a fraction right now, and I will show you how I would enter this into my calculator. I would start with doing the 2/3, which is 2 divided by 3. And as you can see, it gives me a repeating decimal. I know there's a 7 at the end, but they're truncating this. I leave that in my calculator. I'm going to multiply by the 400ths, and then multiply by the 2,950, and then I will get my answer of $78. And when we talk about money, we need to round to the nearest hundredth, so $78.67. Mia, same formula. This time her principal is $3,000. Her rate is 2 5/10%, and her time is 2/3 again. So 2 5/10% is going to be 25 thousandths. So again, I would start by changing 2/3 to a decimal, then multiplying all the other numbers, and I get 50. So who gets more? Alex. How much more? Well, I would have to subtract 78, 67, and 50 to get me $28.67. Try number 5. When you come back, it'll be all set. All right, so for number 5, remember again to put your percent over 100. Your 18 months, I have to put it divided by 12 because there are 18 months in a year, or excuse me, there's 12 months in a year, so I have to put that as a fraction. multiply this all out, and I'll get $614.25. Okay, thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.